Dear brothers and sisters, I am extremely happy to be here once more in Chicago, having opportunity meeting with people and to share some of my thoughts or my own experience. So now this time, the Theosophical Society, they invited me, and the Theosophical Society, since in 50s, actually 56, when I came to India.
1956.
1956. In South India, the Theosophical Society headquarters in South India. So their spirit, respect all religions. And in order to develop respect, you see, in their sort of place, the small temple of all major religious tradition, they built small one.
Worship places. Worship places.
Worship places. So they actually, people get some experience and some knowledge about different traditions. So that's the proper way to develop mutual respect and also mutual learning. So wonderful. So now, come here, I think the Chicago, I think they, one Swami Vivekananda, I think came here, and I think the idea, they're setting up the World Parliament of Religions. So I'm very happy once more here. And I was told, yesterday, concerned people last about 2 months, you see, making these sort of artworks, and to show the symbol of major different world religions. So I very much appreciate. I see. I see. Better sit down. I thought people from there can see better my face. Usually, you see people express they love my smile. So if I stay here, then I think some people there, I think may not see. Oh, yes. Good. Okay. Then, of course, before coming here, I spent a few minutes with Governor and his wife. And I learned this state very recently, in fact this year, the governor signed the abolish death sentence. So, when I heard that, I immediately shake hand, Governor, congratulations. And I told him, several years, I am one of the person who gives signatory the Amnesty International organization. You see, they carry some campaign abolishing death sentence. So I really appreciate. I think the death sentence, of course, each sort of concerned people, they have every right to implement. But basically, I think God, and for example, most of the religious believe God. So God make distinction, sinner and sin. God always oppose or condemn sin, but God always give forgiveness to sinner. He make distinction. So therefore, I think your act really, I think, fulfill or served God's sort of wish. Make distinction. As sin, we must oppose. As sinner, we must give forgiveness, and we must give them love, compassion. So, now my main talk.
Bridging the faith divide, compassion in action.
Now, obviously, there are the last, I think, 3,000–4,000 years, at different part of the world, at different time, different religious teacher come, master come, they teach marvelous sort of spirituality. So actually, all those great teachers, great masters, when they give sort of spiritual sort of message to people, their only sort of motivation is to help humanity, to bring inner peace. However, sometimes we human beings, due to our weakness, some cases even religion used for conflict or for their own interest, for power, for money, for fame. That's not properly sort of practice, proper way of practice of religion. So, since there are conflicts in the name of different religions, not only in the past human history, but even in modern time, that's very, very unfortunate. I just to say, sort of share with my dear respected governor. I mentioned conflict for power, understandable. Conflict for money, understandable. But conflict in the name of religion, it's difficult to understand. There's no sufficient reasons. Because the very purpose of various different religious traditions create inner peace, tolerance, forgiveness, or patience. So, a tradition, or sort of one method teaching, strengthening these sort of the values. Then the religion itself, additional sort of source of problem. It is really very, very sad. Now we must analyze how it happened. Firstly, I believe if we study very carefully, then in the past as well as today, I think most cases of the conflict in the name of religion is actually not religious faith, but for power. That's clear. And then those individuals whose main interest is their own power or their own sort of economic sort of benefit, but use the name of religion. So once they touch religion, it relates with human emotion. Then very easy to manipulate. That's one factor. Another factor, there could be some cases, genuine religious practitioner, but due to lack of awareness, existence of variety of religion on this planet, and every major religious tradition have same potential. So due to lack of awareness, these things, then the concept of, then you see they justice their own religion, and in order to, because of the spread their own religion, and whenever some resistance comes, then conflict. That also is happen. But these, due to lack of awareness, the value of other tradition, that also due to lack of contact. Here, my own sort of experience. When I was in Tibet, I also have the feeling our religion, Buddhism, is the best. Other religion is so-so, that kind of feeling. After I came India, become a refugee, lot of new opportunity meeting with people from different tradition, such as late Thomas Merton from America, and also Mother Teresa, and many others. Through this meeting, then I learned, all carry same practice. Now, Thomas Merton, for example, later, of course, he sort of very sudden death, very, very sort of sad, very sad in Thailand, I think, because I believe him, I consider him, I consider that person, that spiritual brother, like strong bridge between one of the Eastern important religion, that is Buddhism, and Christian. So after his death, one occasion, his own monastery, I visited. I can't remember the name of the place.
Gethsemane.
Gethsemane. So there I was told his daily routine. I usually get up 3:30 morning. He get up 2:30 morning. 1 hour earlier than me. Then the time, go to bed, my case around 8:30 or 8 like that. So in his case, 7:30, 1 hour earlier. I was told like that. So in any way, after meeting such people, then I realized and then also I had a number of occasions meeting with some Muslim practitioner. The very word jihad, according Muslim practitioner, jihad means combat with your own destructive emotion. Jihad, not sort of fight with others, no. Fight within your own destructive emotion. And then one Muslim told me, a person who described himself as a Islam practitioner, if creates bloodshed, then actually no longer Muslim practitioner, because Muslim practitioner must extend love, compassion towards entire creature of Allah, their God. So, very clear. And then also I met a number of sort of Jewish, spiritual leaders and practitioners. So, it became very clear, all majority tradition carry same message or same practice. That is practice of love, compassion, forgiveness, tolerance, self-discipline, moral principle, justice, truthful, all teach these things, same. But then, philosophical field, big differences. Now basically, it's a whole world majority tradition, two groups. One theistic group, one non-theistic group. Christianity, Islam, Judaism, and many Hinduism is the theistic religious group. Then ancient one Indian sort of tradition which existed before Buddhism came. That's one Sangha, they call Sangha philosophy. One part of that, and then also Jainism and Buddhism belongs the category of non-theistic. They believe law of causality. So big differences. According to these non-theistic, no concept of creator, oneself as a creator. But the only different method, but as I mentioned earlier, it's the same message. So in order to carry this message to the sort of follower more effective way, one theistic religion use the sort of, the theory of creator. Everything created by God. So this very life created by God. So truly in the sense of our Father. So that brings feeling of intimacy with God. More closeness feeling, more willingness to follow God's sort of wish or God's sort of guidance. Yeah. And then, what's the real meaning of God? Is infinite love, compassion. So therefore, with that concept brings strong sort of enthusiasm to serve others out of love, compassion to others. Many Christian organizations, really devoted whole their life serving others through education, in the field of education and the field of health. Wonderful. I often notice in some remote area in India, some Christian missionary schools, some medical sort of clinics. So these people, they themselves, you see, remain in these remote, a poor condition. They sacrifice their own personal sort of comfort. All these sort of enthusiasm brought by their faith. So same effect. Then the non-theistic religion, no concept of creator, but law of causality. So that philosophical sort of view brings same sort of enthusiasm, because the things happen due to its own causes and conditions. Then our sort of experience, pleasure and suffering or pains also, you see, happen due to its own causes and conditions. And ultimately, these causes are your own action. If you carry good action, that means helping other, serving other, you get positive result. If you carry works harming other, cheating other, bully other, that action brings suffering. So different way of approach, but same purpose, to bring the inner value and to bring happier society. So all major religious tradition, in spite of different philosophy, all have same message. So same potential. And different philosophy is necessary, because among the people there are so many different mental dispositions. Therefore, it is necessary a different way of approach. So sometimes I describe spirituality is like medicine for illness. So there are sort of variety of illness, and also due to physical condition. You see, the illness, same illness, but sometimes to some person, weak body, more serious. Strong body, less sort of serious. So there are variety. Medicine also must be variety. So the scientists always sort of carry research some new medicine, new sort of new way to cure. And sometimes I think these scientists or these pharmaceutical, they're also more concerned about money, business. But basically, you see, their work is to see how to bring better health to humanity, and try to find new ways and means to treat illness, and how to and a method to prolong our life, like that. So that means there are variety cases. So medicine, you cannot say just one medicine for everything. You cannot say. So even physical illness, we need variety of medicine. So then mind, much sophisticated than this body. Brain, quite sophisticated, according to these sort of brain specialists or neuron specialists, neuron scientists, when they explain about these particles, about brain, really wonderful. It is whole sort like whole worlds. Then the emotion, mind, even more sort of sophisticated. I know number of great scientists, and especially in the field of brain, these things. So more discussion. Now they admit the world of mind is more complicated than brain. Like that. So therefore, medicine for mind, you need even more variety. So that's the reason on this planet, so many different major religious traditions, you see, happen, and these are the different traditions really brought immense benefit last a few thousand years to millions of people, even today. I think now today, we are 21st century. Material development, highly developed. I think like Chicago, big city, I think every year some new buildings or some new missions or some new sort of technology always there. So a lot of sort of changing, a lot of development. But all these external development, I believe the modernity means external that development, external sort of change, not emotion. I think emotion lasts at least a few thousand years. I think human emotion more or less same. And in the future also, next few thousand, I think remains same. After several thousand years, also the climate change, global pattern change. Maybe our brain may change. Then our mind may change. Otherwise, you see, the next few thousand years, I think will remain. So modernity means external change. So the modern facility cannot sort of bring inner peace. I think here among the audience, maybe you see some of the wealthier people. I think there must be wealthier people. I think, tell me, when you something like ordinary level, economic field, maybe your relation with neighbor may be better, maybe more human way. Then you become more successful. You become millionaire, billionaire. You might get more jealousy, sense of competition, more stronger, and then distrust, fear, distrust, frustration, too much stress. Money also brings these things, isn't it? So that means material value cannot bring inner peace. So therefore, I have the view, last few thousand years, humanity on this planet, we put all our hope on prayer, appeal to God. And we Tibetans also, several centuries, we carry a lot of what called puja, rituals. When you get sick, some rituals. When your sort of fortune go decline, again some rituals. That I think is much based on luck. If good luck, or sometimes ritual works, but bad luck, ritual fail. So then last, say about three centuries, about 200 to 300 years, science, technology developed. Then a lot of things which we expected, which we expect through prayer, many of them then brought by mission with help of science. So naturally, you see people showing more interest about science and technology rather than spirituality. Then, later part of 20th century, it seems, I think, from two fields. One field, as I mentioned earlier, those richer people getting more wealthier, materially advanced. Then through their own experience, they gradually found material values, there is limitation. Mental unrest, stress cannot reduce by money. Those people, very wealthy people, but very much relying on tranquilizer or alcohol, in some cases, I think that mainly among the young people, drugs, mentally unhappy, not peaceful. So they rely on external things, external means, alcohol or drugs like that. That's one factor. Another sort of field, another factor, the science sort of knowledge or research reach really deeper about human brain or brain function, and also medical field. Now scientists begin to feel emotion in medical field. Emotion is something very important sort of a factor, and particularly for preventive measure, peaceful mind and full of sort of enthusiasm, or very important. Too much stress, too much worry, too much anger, too much fear, very bad for our health, ruin our health. And also for recover, same patient, one patient mentally healthy, they recover much faster. So then scientific, sort of medical scientists, scientific field, and also about brain science specialists in these fields. Now more and more serious scientists now showing sort of more sort of questions. Oh, there could be one phenomena which we call mind. It actually, because of the effect on our brain. Already last few years, already they demonstrated through training of mind, some kind of sort of meditation or training, it actually changed their brain cell. It's actually happened. And then their way of life changing. Stress reduce, blood pressure reduce. So that's another factor. So these two sort of factors. Now, later part of 20th century, people, more and more people now showing interest about spirituality. Usually I call inner values, like that. So, such period, harmony among the different traditions is very, very essential. So religious harmony, not sort of just out of necessity, some kind of because of the cooperation, coexistence, not that way. Through understanding the old major religious tradition, the same message, same potential, and different use, different method. It is necessary. So here we must know the concept of one religion, one truth, and the concept of several truths, several religions. These two things itself contradiction. But there's no contradiction. In the case of individual, concept of one truth, one religion is very relevant in order to develop single-pointed faith towards one's own God or one's own religion. Then in the terms of community, even family level, say one Christian, one Jew, one is Muslim, even in the terms of family level, yes, there several truths, several religion must be there. For example, now this whole, I think there are naturally Christian brothers, sisters, and some, I think to some extent, some Muslims, then Jews, then some Buddhists, and some Hindus. So already in this whole, the reality is several truths, several religions already there. Not only modern people's creation, but the last more than 3,000 years on this planet, already several religions, several truths already there. Nobody can change that. So therefore, in the terms of community, the concept of several truths, several religions is very much relevant. In the terms of individual practitioner, concept of one truth, one religion is very relevant. So, one of my commitment is promotion of religious harmony. So firstly, yes, okay, that I carry that commitment on the level of I'm Buddhist monk. And perhaps I think one Buddhist monk who have a lot of sort of friends among Christians, among Muslims, among Jews, among Hindus. Quite often when I give talk to some local, the Christian leaders, introduce me. So one occasion in Australia, one very good Christian minister, very good one, wonderful. He also, heavily involved the helping poorer section of the people. So one time he introduced me as a good Christian. So obviously, nobody believed that. But in the sense, we have same practice. Therefore, he considered me as a good Christian. Then I immediately respond him, I consider you as a good Buddhist. It's a similar practice, like that. So therefore, I'm as one Buddhist monk who also have quite sort of wide sort of contact with many other religious, spiritual brothers, sisters. So one of my commitment is promotion religious harmony. So now here, my main sort of talk is about that. Then meantime, another my commitment that I consider number one, my commitment. That is that commitment on the level of I am human being. So nearly 7 billion human beings on this planet, all same human being. Different color, different culture, different language, different faith, different nationality, different social background. These are secondary. We all come to this planet same way, from mother's womb. Everybody nurtured by our mother. And then more important, entire now nearly 7 billion human beings, everyone want happy life. Everyone have the right to achieve happy life. So that's the basis of our concept of human right. We're born, same human being, physically, emotionally, mentally, 100% same. And inner desire, also same. So on that basis, everyone has the right to fulfill that desire. So then, in order to carry a happy life, healthy family, healthy society is very crucial. Now in modern time, some kind of serious illness, that is corruption. Many parts of the world. In America, maybe less. I don't know. I think governor knows. Like India, and particularly like China, and many other, how corruption now really one serious matter. So the meaningful method to reduce that problem, give more punishment, not answer, but real answer is promote human moral principle. So all these illness, not due to lack of education, no. I think, in fact, most of the corrupted people, I think, better education. Those innocent people, less education, may be more honest. So education failed to bring moral principle. Then naturally, money never bring moral principle. So therefore, now question, everybody agree, in order to build a healthy society, healthy family, the justice, truthful, honest, these are the fundamental sort of factor to create healthy society, healthy community, happy community, like that. So that very much based on moral principle. So now question, how to bring, firstly, what is moral principle? Then how to bring that moral principle? That's the serious question. Some, my friend, believe moral principle must be based on religious faith. And at the same time, some other, my friend, say moral principle not necessarily religious belief. I also believe that among non-believer, some very honest person, some very truthful, compassionate person, we find, we can see So, moral principle, not necessarily based on religious faith. On the other hand, quite a serious religious believer, their life much corrupted. That also we see. Sometimes I jokingly was telling some my friend, that they carry daily sort of worship or because of the worship day, daily prayer and worship. But it is possible, some of these corrupt people, early morning, they remember God and worship prayer including my corrupted work must be successful. So that in a way cheating to God. So it is not serious person. In any way, that shows the mere religious belief, not sort of full guarantee be honest person, become honest person. So therefore, my belief, the basic human moral principles, not necessarily based on religion, the real sort of basis of the moral ethics is, I believe, firstly, honest. For that, in order to be honest person, firstly, that person need self-confidence, inner strength. Self-confidence very much related with warm-heartedness. If you treat others as genuine brothers, sisters, and recognize they also have the right to achieve happy life. Once you have that kind of sort of conviction, that kind of sort of, or say, mental attitude, then there is no room to cheat other, tell lie, or hypocrisy, exploit. So therefore, ultimately, warm-heartedness there, then you get self-confidence. That way, you can talk people truthfully, honestly, transparently. That brings trust. Trust brings friendship. Friendship brings happy atmosphere. So, among our friends, may not be educated, but very open, warm-hearted person. We can trust easily. And our friendship, genuine friendship, on the basis of mutual trust. Without trust, one rich because of the family, maybe a good relation, but essentially some artificial, like that. Still, that kind of friendship can go with suspicion, distrust, jealousy. Genuine trust, completely open-hearted. Treat them as a part of yourself. Through that way, develop genuine trust, genuine friendship come. Through that way, economically, may be poor. Education may not be very smart, but can be very happy family, very happy person. So that I consider moral principle. When that is there, no danger of corruption, no danger of cheating, no danger of bullying, like that. So that I consider the secular ethics.
Now, when I say secular, it does not mean negative attitude towards religion. No. Of course, during French Revolution and also Bolshevik Revolution, in these cases, some sort of tendency against the religion. That actually not religious practice itself, but religious institution. So at that time, you see the situation is such, the real exploiter of people, the ruling party, ruling elite, full support from religious institution. So when people start against the ruling elite, they have to sort of against their supporter. But actually, there's no point to against religion, because real essence of religion is love, compassion, forgiveness, tolerance. Nothing wrong there. Everybody needs that. Even animals appreciate that. So therefore, according to India, the 1,000 years a concept of secularism. That means respect all religions, no preference this religion or particular religion, and also 1,000 years, according to Indian tradition, also respect non-believer. So one my friend, the former Deputy Indian Prime Minister, Mr. Advani, one day we just used a casual talk, and he mentioned one of the factors, the success democratic system in India is, in India, 1,000 years, more than 3,000 years, among the religious order, among the philosophers, different philosophical viewpoint, there are different philosophers, and one philosophical thinking, denying existence of God or existence of spirituality, just simply day-to-day life. That we call Charvaka. That school of thought, denying all spiritual values. So that usually is described or considered nihilism. So the rest of Indian the philosophical system, you see, criticize that as a nihilism, sometimes even condemn. But the philosopher who hold that kind of philosophy, that kind of philosophical view, respect, refer rishi. Rishi means sage, respect. So that is he mentioned, that is the one factor. India, 1,000 years, that kind of tradition. Different viewpoint, criticize each other, argue each other, but holder, the view must respect. So the ancient sort of non-believer, there is sort of the tradition, respect them. So in modern time also, we must respect a non-believer too. So therefore, when I use the word secularism, according Indian, not at all negative sense towards religion, but rather respect all religions, including non-believer. That I think important. Now, obviously, nearly 7 billion human population, quite substantial portion of that population is essentially non-believer. So these also have right to achieve happy life, happy family. And making distinction, this is important or relevant because you see, in the society, sometimes the people have this sort of view. When we talk about compassion, forgiveness, these things, then people get the impression these are religious matter, religious practice. So those people who have not much interest about religion, then they also completely neglect about these values. That's a mistake. So it is important. I always make clear that whether accept religious belief or not, that's up to individual. Nobody can force. But these basic human values, warm-heartedness, these things, no point to neglect. You must realize these things are ultimate source of one's own happiness and happiness of the family, happiness of the community. So that my number one commitment, promoting human value, mainly human warm-heartedness or compassion or affection. We human beings, firstly, we are social animal. Then our biological sort of factor also is such, everybody have this sort of potential to show affection to other. Because our life starts from parents' sort of affection, and particularly mother's affection. So this body element, more affectionate mind, this body goes very well. More anger, more hatred, mental attitude, very harmful for this body. So therefore, we can consider basic human nature is more gentleness, more compassionate. Of course, because of human intelligence, because of almost, I think, unlimited desire or unlimited sort of greed, sometimes aggression also become part of our life. But essentially, human nature is more gentleness, more compassionate. So, I think that's all. So think. So now some questions. Some questions now. Question: how to arrange? Question.
We are near the conclusion today, but we do have a few questions.
Oh yes.
We do have a few questions that have been submitted by the audience, and the first question is, Your Holiness, it seems in America that we have religions competing with one another. Why do you think Buddhism has become so popular here in America?
I think answer you should find. I don't know. I think you know better. Because competition you say. I think competition. I think there could be two kinds of competition, two categories of competition. One competition, kind of sense, I must be top, and others reach top, admire. Meantime, you also want to be top. Right? That sense of competition is positive, very good. Now another kind of competition, in order to you achieve first, then sometimes create some trouble, so obstacle for others. That kind of competition is negative. So I think, for example, study. I think without a sense of competition, then there will not be much progress. Some sense of competition. In Tibetan Buddhist tradition, Nalanda tradition, is when we study a lot of debate, dialectical debate. So there are quite strong sense of competition. So it helps, you see, to get more enthusiasm. So good. But then negative sort of sense, or you actually create more sort of obstacle for other. That is bad, of course, like that. Then more and more people, or at least some people, you see, showing some interest about Buddhism, including some scientists. That, I think, firstly, modern people love something new. Americans, your tradition come from Europe, the Judeo-Christian tradition, and to some extent Muslim. So now that is your Gyundu Solchava.
It's like kind of your staple diet.
So now some people want some new thing. That also not very sort of serious. So as after you see the touring, sort of
like a tourist.
Tour and find some new things, little bit interest, and for a few months, showing some interest. Then after a few months, forget. Such things are not very serious. But then some people who fund research work, analyze, then Buddhist tradition, particularly the Nalanda tradition, there is sort of very strong sort of tradition. Analysis. Even Buddha's own word, the Nalanda tradition have this sort of tradition, you investigate or analyze Buddha's own teaching. If particular teaching goes contradictory with our reasons, then we should have the liberty to reject that. So Buddha himself, you see, express, "Oh, my follower, ordained monks or scholars should not accept my teaching out of faith, out of devotion, but rather through thorough investigation, experiment." So you see, some people, you see, like that kind of approach. But still, whenever I give some lecture on Buddhism in the West, in Europe or America or Australia, in New Zealand, this area, I always stress, you traditionally not Buddhist. So therefore, it is better to keep your own tradition rather than change your religion. It is much safer. Otherwise, you see, you may develop some confusion. I have, you see, one sort of story, one example. In early 60s, when we came to India, in early period, things are very, very difficult. So one family, eventually father passed away, then mother with few young children remained. The tremendous difficulties. Then at that time, some Christian organization, Catholic organization, as well as the other sort of Christian organization, really came to help immensely. Then also, you see, they also, you see, help. in the field of education, right from the beginning. So then that widow, the mother, received a lot of help from one Christian sort of organization, and then eventually her either 2 or 3 children also took care by Christian missionaries. So then that lady, I think early 60, I think 63, 64, around that, she came to see me and she told her whole stories, all these difficult sort of life stories. Then she told me, now this life, now she already become Christian, but next life she will be Buddhist. So that's clear sign of confusion, isn't it? And then also is some my friend, some Christians, one I think French, one is Polish. They're very much fond about Buddhism. So then, I think one case, I think 56, when I came to India, one French, she already become Buddhist nun. Then another Polish, after 59, we become very close sort of friend. She really helped a lot about Tibetan younger generations education like that. So she also become Buddhist. Then the French lady, after 59, I came to India. I inquired, where gone? Where is that French Buddhist nun? Then someone told me, now she give up Buddhism and she start a lot of criticism about Buddhism. Then the other Polish lady, very old lady, and at the time of her death, you see the concept of creator is very much sort of alive, her mind. So these are clear signs of confusion. It is much better, safer, keep one's own tradition. Meantime, you can take some sort of experiences or some methods, like some my Christian friend. One sort of story, quite nice, is one Christian monk, or one American, wonderful person, wonderful sort of spiritual brother, and also one England. I know one Christian monk, Catholic monk. Appleford, sorry.
Appleford Monastery, Dom Sylvester.
England.
And Appleford.
Oh, in Scotland, I think border, yes. England and Scotland. One time, it was my visit Scotland, I think Glasgow. I just received slipped, sorry.
Slipped, yeah, slipped.
Slipped.
Slip of tongue.
Oh, England, I mentioned England. Then the Scottish people there, they immediately said, this is not England, this is Scotland. So, one monastery there, one Catholic monastery, one Catholic monk who really carry some practice of Buddhist sort of tradition about single-pointed mind, and also the certain technique which mentioned in the Buddhist tradition, the practice of forgiveness, practice of tolerance, these things. So that's okay. Then the American, the Christian monk, really wonderful. He also, you see, practiced some Buddhist sort of method in his daily sort of practice. Then one day, he asked me his genuine interest about one unique Buddhist sort of concept, things, relative, theory of
relativity.
Theory of relative. So he then asked me about that. Then I told him, this is not your business. This is Buddhist business, so don't ask that. So these are something unique. Because you see, according to the Christian sort of faith, the God is absolute and absolute and permanent. Therefore, this is a Buddhist concept may sort of
Undermine.
May undermine that sort of concept. Absolute and independent, that kind of sort of faith. So it is much better to keep that faith. So I really admire the Christian or those theistic religious sort of tradition. Tremendous faith towards God. One time, I think John Maine from Canada, one day we just talk and some short meditation. And then he carries some sort of singing. Then, while praising God, and tear come.
Tears were falling on his cheeks as he was singing the hymn.
So clear sort of indication, such a sort of strong, single-pointed faith towards God. So you see, that works in psychological level, total submission to God. Certainly reduce self-centered attitude. So Buddhist idea, selflessness, aiming reduce self-centered attitude. Different method. But those theistic religious tradition, single-pointed faith towards God, Creator, that reduce same sort of effect like that. So really wonderful. So therefore, I always stress it is better to keep one's own tradition. And then among millions of people, some individual may find the Buddhist way of approach is more effective, more suitable. Then up to individual right. In that case, say, while you follow new tradition, but you must respect your traditionally your faith, must respect. It's still working among the humanity. So plenty of reasons to respect like that. Yes, now, next question.
Thank you, Your Holiness. We've been given a few more minutes, so we have a few more questions.
If you not very hurry, then I'm quite free.
Good.
I think I can stay here 3:30, another 20 minutes.
We'll be here.
Oh.
Among, Your Holiness, among religious people, there are some who are intolerant of other faiths. How should one reach out to them to have a meaningful dialogue?
I think like interfaith meeting last few decades, wherever I go, the local organization often used to organize interfaith. Now here this sort of get meeting, such things. The interfaith, not just say 1 hour, 2 hours sort of meeting and pray together, or pray each according each faith. Then finish. Not that way, but sort of at least a few days some serious sort of discussions. I think that's very, very useful. I have, three ways to promote, for promotion of religious harmony. Number one, meeting with scholars of different tradition, then discuss what similarities, what's differences. Then obviously there are differences there. When they come across differences, then discuss what's the purpose of this different way of approach. Then we will find same, as I mentioned earlier. Then second method, meeting with practitioners who have some deeper experience. One example, one occasion in Spain, Barcelona, I met one Catholic monk. The organizer told me that monk, Catholic monk, last 5 years in the mountain behind that monastery, a life, hermit life, solitude, hermit life, as hermit, and very little hot meal. So that person came to see me. And I usually jokingly telling audience, his English worse than my English. Compare his broken English, my broken English is a little better. So I have more courage to discuss with him through my broken English. Then I asked him, I was told, you spent 5 years in the mountain, in the hermit life. What kind of your sort of practice? Then he answered, meditate on love. When he mentioned that, in his eyes, sort of special sort of what's the indication. So that sort of confirmed he really practiced love and compassion. And then, as I mentioned earlier, meeting Thomas Merton, and then also witness like the Mother Teresa herself and her follower, really dedicated people. When we see these are the people, such a wonderful, warm-hearted, totally dedicated well-being of others, that real confirmation their religious tradition also have same potential and same purpose. So that's very, very useful to develop closer understanding. On one occasion, I met some Jewish, within Judaism, some sort of different sort of, sect. One they call mysticism or something. The one big head, fur head. One time, is one group of Jewish sort of practitioner came to see me in India. So when we discuss about their own experience and their own tradition, really there are a lot of things to learn and there are many similarities. Then also one occasion I had opportunity to visit one Catholic monastery in southern France, in mountain, on top of the mountain, on top of the high altitude. No other people allowed that monastery. the monk once entered that monastery, the whole life must remain there. After death, their body must be buried within the monastery. So when we met and sort of discussion their way of life, wonderful. Their sort of life, the monks of life, simplicity. I think sometimes I felt some Tibetan monk a little bit luxurious. These sort of monk, Christian monk, sincere practitioner, really wonderful. So such sort of meeting really gives you clear sort of idea what is value. And some nunneries in Italy, really wonderful, really wonderful. Such a devoted sort of practitioner like that. So that's number 2 method. Number 3, group pilgrimage to different holy places. I started that practice 1975. So I started that one particular Indian city where is a Christian church, Muslim mosque, and Hindu temples, Buddhist temple, all there. So one day I start a pilgrimage from I think one Christian church, then small mosque, then one Hindu temple, then Buddhist temple, then one Sikh temple, I think one Jain temple, like that. So, and that spirit, with that spirit, I also have the opportunity truly pilgrimage to Jerusalem. The first early morning, Wailing Wall, with some Jewish as a friend, and they carry something here, isn't it? Like that. And then they really, in front of Wailing Wall, like a Tibetan Buddhist sort of student, they recite something. They remain like that, isn't it? I enjoy with them and pray. Then one ancient Christian church within the
within the compound.
Jerusalem. I think Syrian Orthodox or something. Then the famous Muslim mosque, the rock from where Muhammad received teaching or something, like that. So such sort of thing. At that time, I'm Buddhist. Then one Jews, one Muslims, some Christians. One occasion, some Hindus, we all together as a group of pilgrims and visit these things. Oh, I must tell you, in southern France, Le, famous Christian sort of sacred place. I had the opportunity to visit there in front of Jesus Christ. I reflected. Millions of people, including many sick people, came there. They got tremendous sort of inspiration, inner peace, and in some cases, that holy water cured their illness. Then Fatima, Portugal, on a small Mary statue, in early morning, in front of the Mary statue, we sit together, some silent meditation, few minutes. Then when we about to leave, and I turn back towards that Mary statue. Actually, that Mary statue smiling towards me. So I think I got some sort of blessing. So perhaps Mary mistake. I am Buddhist. I am not Christian. But actually, you see, on such sort of level, person who practice sincerely these message of God, there are not much differences, isn't it? So actually, I have that kind of experience. So like that. So that's one method. You see, the group pilgrimage to holy places. Then one Christian group came to India, the most sacred Buddhist place in Bodh Gaya, where Buddha enlightened. That Christian group, few days sort of seminar in Bodh Gaya. So every morning they came, and I also was there, together, half an hour silent meditation each morning. Christian group, Buddhist group, Hindu group, Muslim group, we together. Some silent meditation or such practice really immense sort of help to open one's own mind. My religion, then that little open. That's very, very, very helpful. And then one important thing is, I want to mention to you. One time in Argentina, I had one meeting, some local Christian leaders and one scientist there, physicist. I can't remember his name, well-known sort of physicist. He told at that meeting, he is physicist or scientist, but he should not develop attachment towards his own scientific field. That I learned. Wonderful. I'm Buddhist, but I should not develop attachment towards my own religion. Because when I develop attachment towards my own religion, then your mental attitude becomes biased. Through that way, you can't see the value of other tradition objectively. So that, I think, very important. Then fourth method is like assisi meeting, initiated by late Pope John Paul. The Christian leaders, different Christian denomination, including Anglican
Church.
Anglican Church, and then I think some Eastern, I think Christian Church leader also there, and then some Buddhist. Beside me, one Cambodian, very wonderful monk or head of the Cambodian Buddhist community, monk. He also there, and some Hindus, I think some Chinese. So wonderful sort of meeting. So such sort of meeting, I think really carry powerful message to millions of people. All leader of different tradition come together and carry same message of peace and message of spirituality. So we need that kind of sort of work. Try. Next question.
Well, our time is running out, and this next question will be our last question. And
Yes.
after His Holiness speaks, he will be joined on stage by Betty Bland, past president of the Theosophical Society in America, and Tim Boyd for a symbolic watering of the aspen saplings in each of the sculptures. But Your Holiness, final question. In recent years, you have worked very closely with many neuroscientists to help them gain a better understanding of consciousness. What have you learned from them and their research? Can science and religion coexist?
Firstly, my contact with scientists mainly 4 fields: cosmology, neurobiology, then physics, like quantum physics, then psychology. So there are common things. Buddhist literature also describe about cosmology, these things. But some are now become quite a disgrace, like Mount Meru. Now I am no longer accept the existence of Mount Meru. Some Buddhists find little sort of difficulties, but I don't find any difficulties. As I mentioned earlier, the Buddha himself made very clear. Even though some literature mentioned about Mount Meru, you see, if you find it is contradictory with our common sense, then you have right to reject. So I already rejected. Yeah. But others, you see, they now, for example, the theory of Big Bang and then development of the whole sort of cosmic way, cosmos, very similar with the Buddhist cosmology. Then, brain, neurobiology. Some Buddhist texts mentioned about these different sort of different sort of system of different sort of parts of the body, and especially the brain. That also some extent mentioned. So in any way, we discuss this. So as far as external matter is concerned, the Western science highly developed. So learning from them is very, very helpful. New information, according to their latest sort of finding, very, very helpful, very useful. Then internal sort of science about mind, about emotion. The information which available according ancient Indian treasure, particularly in Buddhist sort of tradition, the explanation about mind, about emotion. Now, number of scientists really find useful information. So they, on the basis of this information, they already carried some further research work. Very, very helpful. Now 30 years passed. Now interest in both sides, Tibetan, Buddhist sort of, Buddhist institution, and the Western scientist sort of group. Now, last few decades, really developed quite rapidly interest. So interaction. And then, right from the beginning, I make distinction. Science, which mentioned in Buddhist literature, but essentially is science. Not mention positive or negative these things. Just science. What's fact? What's reality? Then second part, Buddhist philosophy on the basis of reality. Now the Buddhist concept of impermanence, Buddhist concept of interdependency. These things are based on the reality, just a sort of, because of after analyze the reality, then these concept as a conclusion of the reality. These itself nothing to do with I mean, not religious sort of
Concepts.
religious concept. Then third part, Buddhist religion. So Buddhist science, Buddhist philosophy, Buddhist religion. So you should not mixed concept, dialogue, Buddhism, science, not that way. Buddhist science, Buddhist philosophy, and modern science, yes, we have dialogue, not Buddhist religion. That you should know, you should understand. So like that. So mutual benefit. One casualty, as I mentioned earlier, now I do not, in my mind, no longer sort of acceptance of Mount Meru. So sun and the moon, according to some literature, Mount Meru in the center, and the sun and the moon go like that. So they're totally rubbish. One day in India, one settlement, one small comparatively more small settlement. So one occasion, my visit there, they opened one small primary school branch. So for my visit there, they already performed some kind of what do I say? Some
dance.
No.
So they had a special presentation on basic science.
Science. They mentioned about the eclipse, moons and suns, and the moon, sun, these things. So one young girl, Tibetan girl, and those is some of the sort of special.
Yes, there are some objects created like models.
Moon and sun and world and eclipse, how it developed. They sort of performed something. Then that young girl told me, "Oh, we Tibetan say, when eclipse comes, some sort of god or goddess is eating that. It is totally wrong." That young girl told me. It's actually to go like that. Well, she very clearly explained to me as if she knows better than me. So wonderful. I really used to listen very carefully. She very much fond to explain about that. So like that. So I publicly, many occasions in India, I think over 10,000 monk students and many scholars, I sort of openly state, now if we accept these concepts, it go against Kazai.
His Holiness is referring to a traditional concept of cosmology in some of the Buddhist texts.
If we accept these things literally, it go against reality. So that's then no longer be follower of or student of Nalanda tradition. Like that. So we, I think Buddhism in general, particularly the Nalanda tradition, I think very scientific way of approach. So like that.
Ladies and gentlemen, His Holiness the Dalai Lama.
Press one. I may add one thing. Listen.
One thing.
One. The President His Holiness spoke. You see, he stressed the faith, reason must together. must go together. So that's, I think, very wise sort of advice. He mentioned, without faith, there's no sort of real spiritual value. Without reason, so you cannot develop conviction. I think wonderful. So like that, broadly speaking, you see things, science after all, just sort of searching or investigate what is the reality. And I think some people say, through scientific sort of research, you cannot prove next life. Or through scientific way, you cannot prove God. And then, through scientific way, you cannot disprove God, existence God. And also, you see, cannot sort of disprove next life. So there are certain things beyond our sort of
our rational understanding.
This moment, I think a certain sort of concept in the scientific field, like quantum physics, I think 200 years ago, nobody knows that. But the reality already there. So
we need to make a distinction between not finding something and finding that is not to be the case.
So we must make distinction. There are some, I think I think we cannot say we 21st century people knows everything, all the beyond the whole cosmos, or billions of galaxies. Nobody can say, I know everything. No. That's why, you see, we still carry research work. Find out, more research. So the thing which we potentially knowing, no limit, go indefinitely. So some of the religious concepts also in that category. So that my answer. One time in Germany, some media people asked me, now scientists already prove the non-existence of next life. And what do you feel?
What will you do?
Usually I sort of say, saying, certain concept which mentioned in Buddhist literature thoroughly disapproved through scientific sort of finding, then Buddhists, particularly follower of Nalen tradition, then must abandon that idea. So then the one reporter asked me, then scientists already disprove next life. Then I told him, no. Like that. So, in any way, thank you. As sinner, we must give forgiveness. And we must give them love, compassion. So, now my main talk.
Bridging the faith divide, compassion in action.
Now, obviously, there are last, I think, 3,000-4,000 years, a different part of the world, at a different time, different religious teacher come, master come, they teach marvelous sort of spirituality. So actually, all those great teachers, great masters, when they give sort of spiritual sort of message to people, their only sort of motivation is to help humanity, to bring inner peace. However, sometimes we human beings, due to our weakness, some cases even religion used for conflict or for their own interest, for power, for money, for fame. That's not properly sort of practice, proper way of practice of religion. So, since there are conflict in the name of different religions, not only in the past human history, but even on Swami Vivekananda, I think came here, and I think the idea, they're setting up the World Parliament of Religions. So I'm very happy once more here. And I was told yesterday, concerned people last about 2 months, you see, making these sort of artworks, and to show the symbol of major different world religions. So I very much appreciate. I see. I see. Better sit down. I thought people from there can see better my face. Usually, you see people express they love my smile. So if I stay here, then I think some people there, I think may not see. Oh, yes. Good. Okay. Then, of course, before coming here, I spent a few minutes with Governor and his wife. And I learned this state very recently, in fact this year, today, modern time. That's very, very unfortunate. I just to see, sort of share with my dear respected governor. I mentioned conflict for power, understandable. Conflict for money, understandable. But conflict in the name of religion, it's difficult to understand. There's no sufficient reasons. Because the very purpose of various different religious traditions create inner peace, tolerance, forgiveness, or patience. So, a tradition, or sort of one method teaching, strengthening these sort of the values. Then the religion itself, additional sort of source of problem. It is really very, very sad. Now we must analyze how it happened. Firstly, I believe if we study very carefully, then in the past as well as today, I think most cases of the conflict in the name of religion is actually not religious faith, but for power. That's clear. And then those individuals whose main interest is their own power or their own sort of economic sort of benefit, but they use the name of religion. So once they touch religion,
Dear brothers and sisters, I'm extremely happy to be here once more in Chicago, having opportunity meeting with people and to share some of my thoughts or my own experience. So now this time, the Theosophical Society, they invited me, and the Theosophical Society, since in 50s, actually 56, when I came to India.
1956.
1956. In South India, the Theosophical Society headquarters in South India. So their spirit, respect all religions. And in order to develop respect, you see, in their sort of place, the small temple of all major religious tradition, they built small one.
Worship places. Worship places.
Worship places. So they actually, people get some experience and some knowledge about different traditions. So that's the proper way to develop mutual respect and also mutual learning. So wonderful. So now, come here, I think the Chicago, I think the governor signed, they abolish death sentence. So, when I heard that, I immediately shake hand, Governor, congratulations. And I told him, several years, I am one of the person who gives signatory, the Amnesty International organization. You see, they carry some
campaign
abolishing death sentence. So I really appreciate. I think the death sentence, of course, each sort of concerned people, they have every right to implement. But basically, I think God, and for example, most of the religious believe God. So God make distinction, sinner and sin. God always oppose or condemn sin, but God always give forgiveness to sinner. He make distinction. So therefore, I think your act really, I think, fulfill or served God's sort of wish. Make distinction. As sin, we must oppose.